Dobar dan, hello, good afternoon. Ja sam Mate Drbovac iz Zagreba. Recite mi, do we have anybody here who doesn't understand Croatian, Slavic? Okay, so we will continue in English. Is that okay? Okay, thank you.
Ako može na hrvatskom?
Da?
Ako može na hrvatskom?
Yeah, but we have somebody who does not understand.
No problem.
Unfortunately. But, okay, so I'm Mate Drbovac, lead solution engineer for virtual cloud networking, and I'm working for VMware. So virtual cloud networking is something, our acronym for basically networking and security. And I'm responsible for this networking and security business in this region. So Croatia, Slovenia, Hungary, Ukraine, Armenia, Azerbaijan, and Georgia. So quite interesting region, I would say. And yeah, VMware. So you are probably wondering why VMware is here. Most of you know VMware for virtualization stuff, system engineering stuff, etc. But you will see later we are, I would say, quite big player inside the networking and security business. And the majority of our investments in the last few years is directed, and it is going to security direction. And we are here, let's say, to when you think about networking and security vendor, we want for you to think about VMware, not just about, I don't know, Cisco, Palo Alto, Fortinet, and other vendors you have here. We are also here, and you will see we have a quite interesting and, I would say, quite useful product. But before that, I will not sell you the plane. But what is interesting here is this is F-35 Joint Strike Fighter, which was developed by the US and their allies. And what is interesting here that this is, you know, military industry, so very, very security sensitive environment. And you have link now. They had a security breach, and they lost some data about that fighter. And it was interesting what was happened there. So let's say the story was common as usual. Attackers jump into the system. They spent there some times and few months. So they were there inside the system few months, and nobody was aware. They stole some data, exfiltrate something, etc. Why I'm telling this? I'm telling this because these stuffs are not happening just to these guys. These guys have a lot of money, they can protect themselves, and it is happening to them. This is also happening to us, to some environments which are, let's say, much closer to us, which are inside our region. We have numerous attacks, known and unknown, inside our countries, inside Croatia, inside Hungary, inside Slovenia, and basically every day you can read about some kind of breaches. And what is interesting, it's interesting that you always have one common attack vector, which is, I would say, you will find it everywhere. It's called lateral movement. And I will explain later why is it important for us. Today on this keynote session, unfortunately, I wasn't able to come. There was somebody from FBI. We have also here one sentence from other guy from FBI, Robert S. Miller, who said that there are two types of companies. Those that have been hacked and those that will be. But John Chambers, in 2015, so 8 years ago, he modified this statement and he said that there are only two types of companies. Those that have been hacked and that don't know it yet. So they are hacked, but they are not aware of it. I think that, okay, this could happen to everyone. But if it happened to you and you are not aware of it, it's even worse. And when you look all these attacks, what is happening now, usually in our environment, you will see that not just you have these lateral movements, exfiltration, etc. Sometimes attackers are inside few months, even years, and nobody knows that. So with all the technology, with all the money, with all the budgets, companies we basically as operators in those companies were blind. And we must do something, let's say, which will open our eyes. Now this, I'm talking for, I don't know, 2 minutes, it's like 120, 150 seconds. During that time, 15, maybe 20 companies around are compromised. Maybe some of us. And we want to know that, and at the end we want to mitigate it, to, let's say, decrease the risk as much as possible. So, what attackers want? You have all this MITRE attack framework, blah, 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 a lot of steps, but usually 3 major steps are important. First thing is persistence. Malware entering into the system usually in a legitimate way. So, you will never heard today that somebody, I don't know, break the firewall. Or somebody, I don't know, destroy IPS. Malware is entering to the system in a legitimate way. Somebody received the mail, opened the attachment. Somebody clicks somewhere on the link. Somebody inserts USB to the PC. Always via legitimate way. So with all the firewalls, with all the protection system, antiviruses, EDRs, NDR, XDRs, blah blah blah, malware enters to the system via legitimate way. Maybe you will have some third party, I don't know, partner who do something inside your system and he brings something. So what the malware wants to do? He wants to persist inside the environment. He wants to learn about your environment. What is happening, where are the data, where is the protection, so he wants to learn about your system. Next thing, and this is crucial, he wants to move laterally. So malware enters to the system and infects one virtual machine, one endpoint, one PC, it's not important. He infects something. And he wants to spread around. And this is this lateral movement vector. So in every attack, in majority, I would say 99% even more, you will have this lateral movement. So there is no 100% protection. You will always have some kind of risk. But this vector is something you can influence. So you can prevent this lateral movement. I will show you later how. So malware wants to learn about your system, it wants to spread around, and then it wants to do exfiltration. So it wants to store the data, encrypt something, shut down something, do the thing, whatever is it. When I said at the beginning of this presentation that I'm coming from VMware, if I would ask you, okay, give me 5 biggest, I don't know, security vendors, maybe firewall vendors, I bet that no one would say VMware. 99 of biggest 100 companies across the globe is using our security solutions. One or multiple of them. Some companies are using all of them. We are number 1 vendor in SD-WAN. We have a bunch of security customers for different technologies, etc. And we are one of the biggest firewall vendors across the world. So everything what I'm talking you about is that is based on, let's say, our install base. You know that VMware has a huge install base for virtualization. We have 80% market share in hypervisor. So 80% of worldwide workloads are running on VMware. And let's say we are learning already for the last 25 years how applications are working, how systems are working, how customers are behaving. And we are using all these informations, all that insights to build our security solution. And if anyone knows how your systems are working, trust me, we know that. Why? Because we are running them. And we know how. So, when we are talking about security, we can argue about that. So, please, if you want to comment something, please do. Security, especially networking security, didn't change for the last 25 years. And please tell me if I'm wrong. So, firewall today, it has much more functionalities than firewall 10 years ago or 15 years ago. But the principle is the same. we have application, monolith application before, and we have fence around it, and we have firewall. And that approach was the same for last 20, 25, 30 years. Since we have firewall. But what happened? Application evolved. So today, applications are distributed. You have a web application database, multiple virtual machines, you have maybe multiple sites. Today we have Kubernetes, we have clouds. So our landscape simply evolved. You have regulations. If you are a bank, you must have two sites. Primary site, second site. You must have disaster recovery, you need to configure security everywhere. So we have this physical challenge. Then COVID happened. We are not working just from our offices, from our branches. You are working from everywhere. From airports, from conferences, from the beach. Simply, you take your laptop and access to the application. Then we also have cloud. Public cloud, hybrid cloud. Simply, our perimeter is just growing. And where is our protection? Where is our firewall? Here. Where is our application? Here. Management likes to talk about cloud. Consumption model. Pay as you grow. Just move application and everything is good. But when your IT manager comes to you and say, please move your application to Azure, to AWS, somewhere, he didn't tell you move the application here but forget security. He told you move application here, but he is expecting to have same level of security, even better, same level of visibility, same level of policy, same level of accessibility. He wants to keep everything, but you are controlling only here. Here's the file. And when we are talking with customers, then they say, we are not interested, especially in this region, in the cloud yet. We are not interested in the Kubernetes yet. We are not there. But you know who will decide when the customers will go to cloud? Microsoft. Microsoft will come and say, look, I will give you some discount to Office 365. Please put some service in the Azure. Bam, you are in the cloud. Then you don't want Kubernetes. Application which you are using, vendor will, application vendor will come to you and say, he will say, you know, my next version of my application is working for the Kubernetes. Please give me it, or I will give it to you. So unfortunately, we as customers, sometimes we don't have control. Simply, we get the environment and we must protect it somehow. And you know, the separate story are developers. I'm talking with a lot of customers, and we don't know Kubernetes. And then they have a development department, and their development department are developing something inside the AWS because they can develop something in the Kubernetes inside, I don't know, cloud. And wow, you have shadow IT, and you are not aware of it. So, what's the point? Point is that from security perspective, we are here. From application and service perspective, we are everywhere. And if you look from the business perspective, from the perspective of your board, of your management, they don't care about firewalls, they don't care about anything. They care about services, money, and that service is reliable and accessible. To be honest, is it important where the workload is working? No. It must work secure, reliable, it must be accessible, fast, and etc. So, how to protect this? Let's go back to data center. I mentioned a few times lateral movement. So malware will enter somewhere here, and usually it will just spread around. Because today we don't have a control. Oops. Where is it? Oh, okay. We don't have control across whole our environment. Why? Because all our networking and security is tied to discrete device. Firewall, IDS, IPS. It can be virtual machine, it can be physical device, but we somehow must do some network redesign and take traffic out from the environment, go through firewall, go through IDS, IPS, etc. And with that you are making compromises, and with that you will not cover everything, never. So what we want to provide you is, okay, take these security functionalities, firewall, IDS, IPS, network traffic analysis, malware prevention, everything. Let's take it from these discrete appliances and let's build it into the hypervisor. Let's tighten this firewall rule to virtual interface of the virtual machine. Let's create security policy, which will be networking security policy, which will be application security policy, which will have all these features, which will be tightened to the virtual machine, to virtual interface of the virtual machine. As this virtual machine is moving through this environment, security and networking policy is going with it. Let's move application to the Kubernetes. Same approach. Let's move application to the cloud. Same approach. How? Because we have NS6 manager, which is central component, which is managing everything, which has connection to AWS, to Azure, to all cloud providers, and create unique security policy for whole your infrastructure. Simple as that. We are calling this East-West security. So not security between internet and your system, not security between branch and your system. This is security inside your environment. And this environment is your private cloud, is your vSphere. This environment is your hybrid cloud. This environment is your private cloud connected to the AWS, Azure, to the public cloud providers. So we have few steps, or few features if you want. First step is networking and application segmentation. Simply, web to web, this is stateless, forbidden communication. Web cloud, they can communicate only via port TCP/80 or only via, I don't know, SQL. So inside the hypervisor, we can recognize application. And we can say, okay, this is, I don't know, database server, and we want to allow on the application level only Oracle format, but not MySQL. So everything built into the hypervisor. So next step is, okay, we created micro-segmentation, we segmented environment. Second step is, okay, let's between two virtual machines insert IDS IPS. Click, enable this feature. Why? Because feature is integrated in the kernel of the hypervisor. So it's already there. If you have a VMware vSphere, you already have all of this. You just need a license to enable it. It's not complicated. And third step is network traffic analysis and sandboxing. Sorry, I'm very excited about and networking detection and response. Now, why this is important? Security vendors like to talk a lot about IDS, IPS. But don't get me wrong, sometimes it's like bullshit. Why? Because most of applications today are encrypted. And you know, with encrypted traffic, IDS, IPS, you must have payload. You must. IDS, IPS is working based on signature hashes, etc. So you must have unencrypted traffic for IDS, IPS to work. But we have NTA. Network traffic analysis is basically the technology which is monitoring all the traffic inside the network. And based on the footprint of the traffic, you really can recognize what's the voice, what's the video, what's the mail, what's the download. And when you combine this with source destination IP addresses, FQDNs, URLs, etc., you can have very, very good insight about what is happening inside the network. And if you see that your database server is communicating with, I don't know, a server in North Korea, you might have a problem. So this is the principle. And all this together is something that we are calling NDR, or networking detection and response. So, segmentation. How to do network segmentation inside the virtual environment? You can do it by IP address, but it's so old-fashioned, trust me. Because it's useless inside the cloud, and it's useless inside the Kubernetes. Because we are using different constructs there, something like tags, etc. So why wouldn't you go to NSX Manager and tag your virtual machines? Tag this virtual machine as a production, tag as web, tag as I don't know, application number 1. Tag this file server as development, application number 2, etc. And create rules based on this. Development to production deny. One, across whole environment, across all Kubernetes, across clouds if you have, I don't know, Amazon, etc. People like to talk about microsegmentation. It's very sexy, you know, microsegment everything, control traffic inside the network. The problem is that nobody knows how the application inside the data center are working, actually. Who knows? You can ask developers, you can read the documentation, and you know, good luck with that. So we will provide you NSX Intelligence. It's a tool built inside the NSX, which will monitor 1, 2, 3 weeks all the traffic inside the network. It will suggest you how to group it. And after that, he will recommend you policy. Okay, this policy for this policy for that. And then you can look to it, you can modify it, and then apply, and you can microsegment your environment. So we will provide you tooling. Not just you can do microsegmentation, you can do everything, but you know, you need some help, somebody who will tell you how to do it. We will tell you. Next thing is a virtual patching or IDS IPS. So on the same way, on the same group level, you can say production development deny, application 1 to application 2, or application to database, use only, I don't know, this and this IDS IPS signatures.
So you can microsegment the application itself within the virtual machine, not just the virtual machine.
No, we are working on the hypervisor level. So virtual machine to virtual machine. But you can, like I said, you can tag services, and you can say, you can assign multiple tags. You can do it also based on IP address, but you can also assign tags. This is the recommended way. Production, development. Web server, application server, I don't know, some kind of microservice, application server, file server. And based on these tags, you can create multiple groups. So whatever you want based on all these regular expressions and or etc. And then based on these groups, you can create policy between them. So you can say group web to web deny, and your web servers, which are part of the group, will not be able to communicate between each other. They will be accessible from outside. They will be able to communicate to different groups, but one-to-one will be forbidden communication. And with that, if ransomware enters to this web, it will not be able to jump to another web. So this is the point, control over the lateral movement. IDS, IPS, same story, so built into the hypervisor, attached to the virtual interface of the virtual machine. So like we have a firewall rule here, we now have also IDS, IPS. And third thing is this network traffic analysis. So we are looking inside the environment how communications are working on the network level. Who is communicating with who? Which kind of traffic? Are there any, let's say, tunneling inside it, etc.? And we can then tell you what's wrong here.
What kind of network devices do you need for NSX to talk to them?
Nothing. So we are purely software based. You don't need to install any kind of physical device. You don't need to install any other, you need only install NSX Manager. These are 3 virtual machines, which are management components. Everything else is inside the kernel of hypervisor.
So you can use dummy switches or everything?
Yes, only require, yes, you can use dummy switch on the physical network. So, we are near the end. You have today You can buy IDS, IPS, sandbox, NPS, etc. I call that kind of devices log generators. What we see with the customers is that customers has a lot of security devices, and all of their devices are generating logs. Doing something in generating logs. How would you otherwise know that they are doing something if they are not generating logs? And you have then a bunch of logs. And then what are you doing when you come to a job and see 3,000 or 300 logs on your mail? No, you acknowledge it, take the coffee and go from the beginning. I think that the most important thing in security is, except to protect the environment, is to have information. If you have 5,000 events, you don't have information. What we want to do, what we are doing with our solution, is that we are correlating all the events from IDS, IPS, NTA, sandboxing, distributed firewall, etc., and giving you information in our networking and detection response model. You will have all these logs. You can send it to the CM. But on top of it, we will have hundreds of or thousands of events, different false positives, false negatives, etc. From that hundreds and thousands events, we will pull out threats, okay, something which is suspicious. And from these threats, we will generate campaign. Campaign is, okay, shit hit the fan. Look to this. You will have still all logs in CM. You are able to go to CM, do whatever you want, but you need to know how to configure CM. From networking point of view, we prepared everything. Then, when you open campaign, they have numbers, higher number, it's bigger problem. You will have this blueprint. So, which endpoints are included inside this campaign? So, which endpoints are problematic and how they interacted. So, we have this, for example, two maybe server hosts on the same subnet, and we see they communicate. And when we click here, on the info panel, we'll see, okay, they downloaded some malicious file, and you can click here and see what file has been downloaded, and you can see it was a virus on the one dashboard. Only on the network level. We didn't install any kind of agent on the virtual machine. This is on the hypervisor level. So we can pull information which virtual machine is sending to the network. We can pull the file and analyze it through the sandbox. And tell you what's happening with this file. Is it malicious or not?
Sorry for asking questions.
Please.
Since you do not have an agent within the virtual machine, and you know that the virtual machine downloaded malicious file, how do you remediate it? How do you remove that update file from the system?
Each virtual machine inside the VMware vSphere has VMware tools.
Yeah.
And basically we are using VMware tools to pull out these files. So when file comes to virtual machine, we will first of all hash it, see do we already know for the file. If yes, then we know is it malicious or not, and according to that we will block it or allow it. If we don't know it, we will send it to cloud for sandboxing. And the sandbox then will tell us is it malicious.
One question.
Yes?
What if the machine does not have the VMware tools installed?
You will not have this feature.
Okay.
Simple as that.
Simple as
What we see is that I would say 99% of virtual machine build is running. We have tools because it provides you drivers, all other stuff.
And do you have any rollback feature? For example, if you know what actually the malware did, you have the whole history. Can you roll back?
Yes. So you now I should show you the demo, but you have a whole history of communication. What actually, which was the part? Is anybody else download that file, etc. And here is the, for example, timeline. So you can see which device, what was the step for each device, which we, in our security solution, found what happened where and when. And you can do this historically. And in the end, our goal is basically to provide you networking and security for any workload running on any location, on any cloud, and everything from the central point of management. And this is our NS6 manager, which is staying on top of your environment and configuring network and security across all
The
the environment.
NSX manager will protect the host itself as well, or only the virtual machines that run on top of it.
It will protect everything, all virtual workloads
Yeah.
for you, which you enable
Yes.
this feature. And we can also protect bare metal workloads, so basically like Windows servers, Linux servers, but for that we need agent, because we simply cannot, we don't have access to underlying network there.
And for the hypervisor itself,
We are protecting virtual workloads. Now you can, for example, on NS6 protect, I don't know, vCannal interface of the ES6i hypervisor if you want, but according to some design guides, it's better to keep, let's say, vCannal separated from the NS6, because in case of possible problems, you could have chicken egg problem. But this is more related to design. So we are near the end of time. Let me just. Okay, so thank you for attending this session. This presentation is quite bigger, but our time slot is much shorter. So if you have any questions, I will be there today during the party, especially during the party. If you have hard questions, then I will be the best. Please ask me. If you want to test, we can provide you trial licenses. Like I said, if you have VMware vSphere, you have everything what you need. You just need a license. For the start, I will give you trial licenses free for you. Test everything what I showed you now. Please.
thank you.
Bye.